Let's talk some sports, baby.
Taken by Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry. Back to Iguodala. Up for the layup. Oh, blocked by Jones.
And remember, make tomorrow better than today, and make today better than yesterday. And you know what we gonna do. We gonna holler at you until next time, baby.
Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Jay Wise and Nathan Drinkard. I'm your host, Cody Ward. Thanks for spending some of your time with us tonight. As a reminder to all the listeners, besides being on all your favorite podcast platforms, A Drink of Wisdom is also on YouTube, with each show segment available. Head on over, and if you like what you hear, we'd appreciate your subscription. What's going on, guys?
What's going on, man? It's the beard, it's the drink, and it's the wisdom. Let's do it.
Let's talk some sports, baby.
In episode 65, the NFL Draft starts tomorrow. The Last Dance started Sunday, and we react to recent comments from Draymond Green. We begin with a surprising NFL trade. New England Patriots retired tight end Rob Gronkowski and a 7th-round pick to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a 4th-round pick. Gronkowski had recently informed the Pats that he'd like to play again, but only wanted to play for Brady. Tampa seemed happy to have him and quickly hammered out a trade. The 30-year-old tight end will unretire and honor the last year of his contract that'll pay him $10 million. Last we saw of Gronk was 2018, catching 47 passes for 682 yards and 3 touchdowns. So how does the addition of Gronk change your outlook for the Bucs in the upcoming season, Jay?
You may be surprised to hear me say this, but I don't think it doesn't change my outlook for them a whole lot. You got to take into consideration Rob Gronkowski playing the tight end position, and that was already a position of strength for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate. And then you factor in the wide receivers you have in Tampa Bay with your Mike Evans of the world and Chris Godwin.
We just losing the drink?
I think we did.
I like it. Well, off to a great start. You want to go instead?
Oh, yeah. So, unlike Jay, I do think that this whole deal, I think Gronk going to them will make an impact, and this is why I think so. Listen, this is what I do know. Gronk, Brady, they come from a foundation, a steady foundation. They'll be able to take that leadership that they learned from the foundation, bring it over to Tampa Bay, a fairly young team, and build upon the foundation that they already learned in New England. I think Tom Brady now, he has an opportunity to slide into the Bill Belichick kind of era of that foundation. And then Gronk has a chance to slide into the Tom Brady area of that foundation. So now, where these young players haven't really been in a system that really know how to win, a stability system, now you get 2 great leaders that will build upon the leadership, the mentorship, however you want to look at it for these young players. Now, my second thing is this. I agree with Jay. I'm going to hit what Jay was saying before he cut out. But listen, Tom Brady get his security blanket. And everybody know when you got a veteran, older quarterback, one of the things that really matters is having that go-to guy when all the chips are on the table, a guy that you trust, a guy that you could just throw the ball to pretty much, and he's going to come down with it. That is Gronk for Tom Brady. They've done it on the big stage so many times. So that's what I'm looking at. Also, Gronk is probably a top 3 tight end of all time, right? So now you're getting a certified blocking tight end that's going to help with that lackluster run game that Tampa Bay had beforehand. And you get a tight end that could come in and show the O.J. Howards and the Cameron Brates, mentor them a little bit and how to play winning football. Because, yes, I do know that Cameron Brate isn't what you would consider a young player, but he darn sure don't know how to win. So it is some things Gronk can teach him as a tight end on playing winning football. And not to overlook this, New England also got something out the deal. One, Gronk came back. They knew they couldn't pay him, so they was able to trade him away immediately. And they got a 4th-round pick, a much-needed 4th-round pick to plug in some of those holes that they're going to have on the defense side of the ball. So they get a win out of this whole ordeal too. So I like to see that. But one of the things that concern me about Gronk coming is his injury history. Hopefully, if he can stay healthy, not get hurt. Listen, the guy he's one of the best tight ends in the game. I know he hasn't played in a little while, but when he get his feet up underneath him, he is a certified number one tight end. Now you put him in with O.J. Howard, which you got in the first round. You got Cameron Brake, undrafted tight end out of Harvard. Now you really got something cooking here. And listen, if you got to get rid of one of these guys, because I did think about this whole deal where somebody might have to go. 3 tight ends on the roster is a little bit outrageous, but we do know this. Tom Brady numbers are a lot better when he's playing in a 2 tight end set. We're going to see a lot of 2 tight end set with the addition of Gronk on the roster. But I'm looking at O.J. Howard. He's most likely going to be the odd man out simply because he's the guy that you can possibly get a second-round pick back. You spent the first-round pick to get him. If you can get a second-round pick for him, you're doing good. He's a young stud, and I do think at some point he can make somebody's team better. But like Jay said, let's be real here. The 2 obvious holes that this team has is not getting filled by Gronk. That offensive line is still got some work to do. That secondary is a major problem. So with all the hoopla around Gronk coming to Tampa Bay, yeah, I got it. It's good and everything. But until you show me something else on that offensive line, until you show me something else in that secondary, listen, I'm sorry, folks, but you kind of still in the same place you was before Gronk got there. So let's slow it down with that Cleveland Brown hype that we threw on the Cleveland Browns last year because they got Odell Beckham, and Odell Beckham didn't solve not one problem that they had because they already had good receivers. So we're going to slow down with that. And listen, man, I'm glad to see Gronk coming back to the NFL, and I do think it's good things. But until I see something with that offensive line and that secondary, that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, back to that point, the point I was making, the Bucs are already strong at tight end. They're already strong at receiver. There's plenty of weapons that the Buccaneers have at their disposal for Tom Brady to throw the football to. But it's not going to mean a whole lot if you can't protect Tom Brady. So they still got to figure out the strength of the offensive line, particularly the offensive tackles. But I'm going to tell you what makes this very interesting, and you already alluded to it. One of those players might have to pack his bags and get traded out of there. And I think it will be O.J. Howard because with his youth, he would have the most value. And with that being said, I think the Washington Redskins would make a lot of sense here because they got a guy up there in Trent Williams who we've known for, I don't know, it feels almost like a year now that Trent Williams has no interest playing for the Redskins. And they have a need at tight end now with Jordan Reed. I don't know what he's doing, but you talk about Brandon Cooks being a walking concussion. You can slide Jordan Reed right up there too. So when you take those things in consideration, and we talk about all the rookies that we think the Buccaneers should target in the draft, I know these guys have a lot of promise, but again, that they're rookies. We don't know how smooth the transition will be into the NFL, so it could be a situation where you use O.J. Howard and make a trade offer to the Redskins for Trent Williams, and that way it fits right in with the Tom Brady signing, with now the Gronk trade. If you get Trent Williams in there, it's another win-now move. I'm still operating on the assumption that he can play, and you also talked about another great point. Gronk hasn't played 16 games in a season since 2011. That was his second season in the league. So he is an injury risk. Defenders, they tend to go at his knees because they have no chance if they go up high. So his knees and his ankles are always going to be under risk. And I still think it's a good move because even if you can get 12 games out of him, I think that makes a whale of a difference. But it's still going to come down to the ability to strengthen that offensive line so Tom Brady has time to get the football to these weapons. And they got to get better on defense too. But with the addition of Gronk, they could be in a position to possibly get Trent Williams or a proven offensive lineman. And with that, you got that need out the way. You can be a little more flexible with that first round pick now. Maybe you go backfield, or maybe you look at the defense.
Yeah, this whole trade I think was incredible. If you think about it like this, the Patriots essentially traded a 7th round pick for a 4th round pick, right? Because let's be real, Gronk wasn't going to come back and play for them. Like he literally said, I'm retiring, but I'm only going to play for Brady. Otherwise, I'll continue this part-time wrestling thing I got going. So that contract had like no value or it had no downside to them holding it. And then he just, by sheer luck, I guess, he comes back and says, hey, I want to play football again, and they can ship him off, a player they had nothing to do with, and they get a 4th-round pick for essentially a 7th. It's wild. So if anyone's wondering, the Patriot way is fine. If anyone's wondering, the post-Brady era is off to a good start. But, one question I do have about this whole thing, I kind of brought this up when we first saw Brady go to Tampa, as I'm wondering how much Tampa Bay knew about this beforehand, right? Because this was awfully fast. I mean, this kind of happened in a day. I mean, there was really no buzz earlier in the week that, oh, did you hear about Gronk's talking about retiring? It was just like, oh, I'm retired. And then an hour later, oh, he was traded. And it makes me wonder either A, this has been working for weeks, like behind closed doors, right? Or B, he unretired, or he mentioned this to Brady, and Brady said, you get him right now. Because I wondered when Brady came to Tampa, how much of that like LeBron effect would he have? Does he have the ability to walk in there and go, hey coach, or hey GM, I want this guy, and they just get him? They just snap their fingers and the guy appears, right? Does Brady have that ability? And we don't know for sure how much of this was him versus how much of this was the team just wanting Rob Gronkowski on their team. But you have to feel like Brady had some serious influence, obviously, because Gronk wasn't going to be there otherwise. But did he really push them to make the signing as well? Because this tight end room was pretty good. Like y'all both said, O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate, there are far worse tight end rooms across the NFL, and they seem to have got this guy on a drop of a hat. So as far as overall, like moving the needle, it's not really massively moved for me. I do agree that you still have the issue of injuries. The last couple times we've seen Gronk, he didn't look nearly as big. I'm not sure how much of a football shape he's really in. If we're going to get that kind of physically just freak Rob Gronkowski that we saw in his heyday, or if we're going to get some kind of different version of him. He's still as tall and as long as he was, but does he have like the bulk to take the beating he was used to taking? Because remember, there's a reason he retired at 29 or whatever it was. And then I also am concerned, too, if they do wind up making a trade and they get rid of O.J. Howard and they roll in with Gronk and Brate and maybe whoever else is 3rd or 4th, and then Gronk gets hurt, is Tampa Bay going to regret this move? But for right now, yeah, I think it's kind of a push, but it could be good. I mean, we know how well these two work together, so it'll be really interesting to see as we get into the season how it looks for them.